The structure of a cell and microorganisms. Learning about the structure of a cell and microorganisms. Our world has many different kinds of organisms which look very different from each other. We know that things around us are either living or non-living. The bodies of all living organisms, animals, plants, and human beings are made up of cells. Cells are capable of carrying out all the functions of a living organisms such as movement, respiration, digestion, and so on. Just as bricks are the building blocks of houses, cells are the building blocks of all living organisms. They are so minute that they can only be seen with the help of a microscope. Therefore, a cell is the smallest unit of life. About 350 years ago, in the year 1665, Robert Hooke, an English scientist, observed a thin section of cork under a microscope. He found that the structure of the section was like a honeycomb, made up of many small compartments which he named cells. The study of cells is called cytology. Cells are studied with the help of compound microscope. An electron microscope has to be used to study the cells that cannot be seen even through the compound microscope. With the help of an electron microscope, it is possible to magnify small objects infinite times to get a larger image. It magnifies objects 2 billion times. 2 multiplied by 10 raised to the power 11 times. Living things are made up of cells. A cell has a definite structure. Life processes of living things are carried out through these cells, which have various constituents. They are called organelles. Organelles. The cell membrane, cell wall, cytoplasm, mitochondria, Golgi bodies, ribosomes, lysosomes, plastids, nucleus, and vacuoles are the organelles of a cell. Functions of some organelles. The cell membrane. The cell membrane is the outer covering of a cell. It is like a very thin, flexible layer. The cell membrane protects the inner part of the cell and regulates the flow of substances that enter into and pass out of the cell. The cell membrane maintains the shape of the cell. The cell wall. The cell wall is found only in plant cells. The covering of the plant cell outside the cell membrane is called the cell wall. It is made up of a substance called cellulose. Other substances can pass through it. The cell wall gives the cell strength. Hence, the cell gets a definite shape and the inner components get protection. Nucleus. The nucleus is the central and the largest component of the cell. It is usually round. The membrane around the nucleus is porous. Chromosomes made from the DNA are inside the nucleus. A DNA thread of certain length is called a gene. The nucleus controls all the functions of the cell. It takes part in cell division. Inherited characteristics are transmitted to the next generation according to the genes on the chromosomes in the nucleus. Cytoplasm. The substance that fills a cell apart from the nucleus is called the cytoplasm. Cytoplasm is a semi-fluid substance with water-soluble organic and inorganic substances and the various organelles in it. Mitochondria. These are of various shapes, but they are mainly tubular. A mitochondrion has a double wall. The inner wall has folds. Mitochondria produce energy from the food material in the cell and supply the energy to the cell wherever it is required. That is why they are called the powerhouses of the cell. Golgi bodies. Golgi bodies are sacs of flat membrane bound sacs in the cytoplasm. They store enzymes. Vacuole. A vacuole means an empty space. A vacuole is an organelle with a covering of single membrane. Plant cells have much larger and many more vacuoles than the animal cells. Vacuoles store products of excretion and secretions temporarily. How many chromosomes are there in the nucleus of a human cell? The nucleus of human cell has 46 chromosomes. Why is the euglena said to belong to both the animal as well as the plant kingdom? The euglena shows behaviors like an animal. However, since it has chlorophyll, it is an autotrophic organism. Hence, it is said to belong to both the classes of living things, plant and animal. Differences between the plant cell and animal cell. Animal cell. In animal cell, there is no covering around the cell membrane. Plant cell. In plant cell, the cell wall surrounds the cell membrane. Animal cell. In animal cell, vacuoles are fewer and smaller. Plant cell. In plant cell, the vacuoles are larger and more in number. Animal cell. In animal cell, there is no chlorophyll. Plant cell. In plant cell, there is the presence of chlorophyll. Microorganisms. There are countless microorganisms all around us in the air, water, and soil. Let us take some information about the different types of microorganisms such as viruses, bacteria, algae, fungi, yeast cells, protozoa, etc. Some microorganisms are useful while some are harmful. Virus. It became possible to study virus only because of the electron microscope. A virus has a simple structure without cytoplasm or organelles. The virus has a covering of proteins. It contains deoxyribonucleic acid, DNA, or ribonucleic acid, RNA. They cause various diseases in plants and animals. Bacteria. They are larger than viruses but cannot be seen without a microscope. In bacteria, there are free chromosomes inside of the nucleus. They also have the organelles, a cell wall, cell membrane, and cytoplasm. Some bacteria are beneficial, while some are harmful or disease-producing bacteria. The rhizobium bacteria found in the nodules of the roots of leguminous plants is useful as nitrogen-fixing agent. They transform nitrogen in the air to nitrogen compounds. These nitrogen compounds enter the soil and make the soil fertile. The Azotobacter, a kind of bacteria in the soil, also fixes nitrogen in the air independently. Soil contains several bacteria which decompose the dead plants and animals and produce humus. This increases the fertility of the soil. The Staphylococcus bacteria produce a poisonous substance called enterotoxin as it grows on the foodstuffs. Eating these foodstuffs causes diarrhea and vomiting. However, timely treatment cures the illness quite easily. Bacteria called Clostridium are likely to grow in canned foodstuffs after the date of expiry. These bacteria produce toxic substances as they grow in the foodstuff. If such foodstuffs are eaten, they cause diarrhea and vomiting. That is why a can of foodstuff carries an expiry date which tells us how long it is safe to consume the content of the can. When we buy the canned food, we must always check the expiry date. Algae. Algae are found in wet, damp places. The cells of these plants, which grow in water, contain chlorophyll. They are autotrophic. Most algae are useful. Some kinds of algae serve as food. If algae grows in the overhead tanks of water where they get sunlight, the water gets a bad smell. Diatoms are a type of unicellular algae. Fungus. Some fungi are useful while some are harmful, which causes the diseases of the skin or damage to the substances. These plant cells do not contain chlorophyll. That is why they are parasites. They grow in damp places on organic substances. In 1929, the scientist Alexander Fleming discovered that a substance produced during the growth of the penicillium bacteria could kill certain microorganisms. The well-known antibiotic penicillin is made from the penicillium bacteria. Only certain bacteria are able to produce certain antibiotics. Also, an antibiotic can kill only specific microorganisms. Antibiotic produced penicillin. Microorganisms producing the penicillin. Penicillium chrysogenum. Germs destroyed. Diphtheria, pneumonia germs. Antibiotic produced chloromycetin. Microorganisms producing chloromycetin. Streptomyces venezuelae. Germs destroyed. Typhoid germs. Streptomycin. Antibiotic produced streptomycin. Microorganisms producing streptomycin. Streptomyces griseus. Germs destroyed. Tuberculosis germs. Antibiotic produced tetracycline. Microorganism producing tetracycline. Streptomyces aureofaciens. Germs destroyed. Various germs. Antibiotic produced erythromycin. Microorganism producing erythromycin. Streptomyces erythraeus. Germs destroyed. Various germs. Yeast cells. They belong to the class of fungi. Yeast cells cause fermentation. Fermentation caused by some microorganisms result in the formation of organic substances with excellent taste and flavor. Breads, idlis, dosas are prepared by the process of fermentation. Protozoa. This is a class of unicellular animals. Their cells do not contain chlorophyll. They have a cell membrane and the nucleus. They grow by obtaining ready-made food materials. Some protozoa are harmful. When protozoa like the amoeba enter our stomach, Through contaminated food or water, they cause illness like diarrhea, vomiting, etc. If not treated in time, these disorders can become chronic. Summary: the cell is the basic constituent of every living thing. A compartment containing cytoplasm and enclosed in a cell membrane is called a cell. The main parts of a cell are the nucleus, cytoplasm, and cell membrane. A plant cell has a cell wall made up of cellulose outside the cell membrane. The organelles, namely mitochondria, Golgi bodies, ribosomes, lysosomes, vacuoles, are present in the cytoplasm. Cytoplasm contains both organic and inorganic substances. Some microorganisms are useful, while others are harmful. That was all about this chapter, students. Good going! Keep learning!